Welcome to the Personal Brand and Leadership Podcast. This is the space where I guide you to elevate your leadership awareness and to build a powerful personal brand. I am Kareem Raymond, an expert in high impact personal branding, and my goal is to empower you to share an authentic and meaningful message with the world. In each episode, I will provide you with practical tools and strategies to help you take your leadership to the next level. Together, we will explore how you can discover and develop your true leadership potential and create a personal brand that aligns with your vision and purpose. If you're ready to start making a meaningful difference in the world, tune into the Personal Brand and Leadership Podcast. See you then. Today, I have a very special guest. His name is Dr. Aaron Wilkerson. I met him too, if you've heard of my podcast before, I met him through my mentor, Michelle Villalobos. And it's very hard to put in words the experience that I've had from him. So I thought it was better just for us to have a conversation. But what I can say is that one of the things that I learned from Michelle that then after I kind of implemented in my life is that there is a point in life and in business and in leadership that the answer is not learning more. So then the question is, if the answer is not learning more, like doing the rational things, what do you do? And these are one of the things that I had the experience to learn from and live with Dr. Aaron. And of course, we're going to talk about that. But to me, it has been so powerful because there is two things that I would say that were it really switched my way of seeing the world, like my own world. The first one is my relationship to abundance, because I definitely haven't had the experience of the scarcity that I used to experience before the very first time I met him. And then is this constant evolution of understanding how much energy in my body postures have to do with how I live life and how I live the world. And this is such a small way to speak about that. So one of the ideas that I had, it was, having you here, Dr. N, and just talking a little bit about your path, what has you doing what you're doing, and then what have you experienced with other business people that you've been working with the past few years, and how has that been so powerful? So thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me here. It's beautiful to be here. Thank you. Thank you so much. And it's just great to see you. It's been a little while, so it's good to see
Yes,
you.
yes. Could you briefly share with us how did you end up doing what you're doing right now? Because the first step is, yeah, you started as a chiropractor, but then what you do right now is so much more and so much profound and so much fruitful, I would say. So how, like, share a little bit with us, how did you get to this point today?
So that's actually a fun question and can be relevant to this if we want. The interesting thing is when I was 24 years old or something like that, I was asked one day, my mom said to me one day, she said, well, why don't you become a chiropractor? Right? I had been going to school a little bit here and there, but didn't have any real idea of where I wanted to go. And she said, why don't you become a chiropractor? And I'd never been to a chiropractor, never spoken to a chiropractor, I didn't really know anything about chiropractic. And I wasn't a kid that just did whatever his mom suggested. But somehow in there, I just went, yeah, okay. So I started taking some actions. I looked at what the prerequisites were. I went and met with a chiropractic university to see about that and said yes. And then did a year of prerequisites to finish up so I could go to chiropractic school. And the reason I bring that up, that origin part of this up, is that during that year, I never went and spoke to a chiropractor. I never went and met with a chiropractor. So when you're talking about getting learning, when you're talking about getting those things, I didn't go learn more. I didn't go study more. I didn't go explore more of what does it mean to be a chiropractor and what's the lifestyle of a chiropractor like? And any of that is, and so there's often this relationship, some would call it passion and logic, right? There can be this relationship between passion versus logic or passion and logic. Some could call it your calling. There might even be a difference between a calling and a purpose, right?
Mm.
A purpose to me is something that's more logical. It's whatever you want your purpose to be, it can be your purpose. Your calling is going to be different. Your calling is going to be that thing that you almost can't deny. And the theme of it is going to run through almost everything you do. So, even starting with the idea where you said there's a point where there's no more to learn, this isn't that, right? Where learning more isn't going to accelerate your progress. It's not going to accelerate where you're going or even get you off the starting blocks. So with that one, what was really nice is that instead of convoluting the energy and the path with a bunch of information, I actually just followed the calling. I just followed the energy. I just followed the yes. So I said yes and then went along with it. And then as that happened, then I got into chiropractic school. I go there and then they're explaining chiropractic on the first day. And I said, well, if the cause of all disease is the subluxation, then what causes the subluxation? So now I went looking for information, right? Now I went
Mm-hmm.
looking for, okay, now I'm here. Now let me get some more information. And I get this more information. And in finding that more information, I start to realize that there's this whole new world that's out there. But that brought in more energy. So now I'm following this energy towards, okay, let's find this new way. And instead of getting more and more information, I actually started letting the energy happen. So let me step back for a minute and I'll explain how I got to where I am, maybe through this as an example. But I really want to just hit on what you said because when we look at progress and we look, and if I'm jumping ahead, you can kibosh me for a minute, but there are two, when we look at thermodynamics, I'm not here to give a class on thermodynamics. You can look that up. You can look up entropy and enthalpy and those types of things. But what we are going to look at is there are basically two ingredients. There's information and there's energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's logic and there's passion. Okay.
Yes.
When we have too much information, it will actually put down the energy. So if you think of it as, and when you have too much energy, it'll burn through the information really fast. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So if you think of it like a piece of wood is the information, and let's say the flame is the energy. Now, if you have a big piece of wood that's hard wood, you're going to need a lot of energy to get that piece of wood to start on fire.
Mm-hmm.
You could also have a very combustible form of information, such as gasoline, which is very combustible and would take very little energy to get it to, and you could go through that very fast. Most people think that the reason why they're not taking action or why they're not making progress or why they're not doing something is because they don't have enough information. And the
Yes.
reality is most of us have more information than we could ever know what to do with. What we don't have is enough energy, enough passion, enough drive, enough of that energy to actually ignite and spark the amount of information that we have and to actually turn that information into heat, to turn that information into something incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And we keep thinking that it's a lack of information.
Yeah, and what I really love that you're bringing is because sometimes when we hear about your energy work, or you have to, work your energy, it could be kind of like what's that? And the example that you shared is actually inspiring to me. Yeah, like once you have that energy, then it's kind of like the actions are going to lead to themselves, and that energy most times doesn't come from reading more books, doing more learning, taking more classes, more courses. That kind of energy most times doesn't come from those kind of actions. Am I
Not typically. I
correct?
mean, if you take a good class and it's an inspiring class, or you get a class that answers a little question for you and gives you some information that has you go, oh, now I see it, then
Mm-hmm.
you've got to have the energy there to be able to take immediate action on it. Because if you
Yeah.
don't have the energy to take the immediate action on it, then the energy is going to drop, the motivation is going to drop, and it's just gonna sink right back down to where it was, and you're just gonna have another self-help book on your desk or another seminar under your belt and more information, which is great. It's like having a pile of wood that's there ready to be ignited, but at some point you got to have the energy to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so instead of passion versus logic, I like, logical passion and passionate logic. And is the logic actually supporting the passion? Is the logic actually supporting the energy? And is the energy supporting the logic? And are they actually collaborative? Are they working together?
Mm-hmm.
So those are the things that we want to bring together. And we can ask a very honest, inventory of, do I actually need more information? Right? Do I actually need more information to bring the minimum viable product to market? Do I actually need more information to do this or to do that? Or am I hiding behind a lack of information because I don't have the courage to actually just go put myself out there? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And the energy to recognize that I can handle whatever comes along. And that's an energy state. An energy state is a state where I have the energy to adapt, to process, to take care of whatever comes along.
Mm-hmm.
Rarely
Yes.
is it a lack of information.
I agree. And I think that's the perfect place for you to explain a little bit then what does it have to do, the kind of work that you do with energy, with having different results out there in the world. Like for each person, let's say me or whoever has been in a chiropractor table with you.
Sure. So, I mean, so yeah, so what I do is, it's not really chiropractic. It was born there and then
Uh-huh.
it kind of
Yeah.
evolved from there and took on its own form through phenomenal teachers and phenomenal information and a lot of energy that then came in, right? The there are, as we know it right now, there are basically two forms of energy. There's bound energy, that's energy within the system, right? That would be energy that a person holds within their body, that they hold within their story, that they hold within their life. And we can tap into that through the use of our mind, through the use of information to spark the energy, and vice versa. So, for instance, I could say, Kareem, think of all the times that you said no when you wanted to say yes. Think of all the times and how much your life might have changed the times that you've played small instead of stepping into your own. Think of all the times that you didn't show up for, and ideally, you can either start to feel down and sad or you can start to get pissed off. Okay.
Yes.
Now, if we take the word pissed off out of it and the label of anger out of it, and we recognize that anger is simply the expression of energy that is the revolutionary energy of, I am going to make a change. I am going to do something different. Enough of this. So we can use that as a way to spark energy inside of ourselves and think, wait a minute, what am I not okay with? Right? I can even look at something out in the world and go, I'm not okay with that. It was said to me once, frustration is watered down anger, so we don't have to take action. Right? We can sit and be
Oh.
frustrated about something for a long time, but the moment that you actually experience anger and you experience rage and you experience the actual impact of, I'm not okay with this, now
Mm-hmm.
you have available bound energy inside of you. The question is then, what do you do with it? So to build a bound energy from what's inside of us requires presence. It requires awareness. It requires a moment of be with itness, of being with it to where we're able to go, I'm going to be with this. And then how I choose to express that in the world through action, through movement, through poetry, through art, through dance, through creativity, through building a business empire, through changing my scenario, whatever it is? Or do I just leak it out and and blah, 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 and complain and gripe and moan and groan until, oh, okay, good. Now I don't actually have to take any action because I've leaked all that energy out. So we have bound energy inside of us. And I know this doesn't talk about on the table yet, but part of what happens on the table and part of what happens with working with somebody is helping them tap into that bound energy and being willing to focus on all the times that I've been the common denominator and saying no when I meant yes.
Mm-hmm.
Also being able to say, how good would it feel to, oh yeah, and sparking that energy inside. Now, there's also energy that's unbound, and that's the energy all around us, right? That's the abundance of energy that's all around us. And we can also find ways to tap into that. We can look outside of us and get inspired. We can look outside of us and feel drawn towards something. We can look into the future and say, I don't know what my purpose is, but man, I feel called to go that direction. And the energy doesn't have to come from inside. Sometimes the energy comes from outside. Sometimes the energy comes from this other place. But again, that's the difference between being closed off and being opened up. Am I closed off to the world because I am so certain, or am I open to the world and am I being pulled forth? And am I
Mm-hmm.
being called forth? So that's where the energy sources come from. So when working with somebody, whether it's through using words and using different coaching places and using that to help people tap into that, or whether it's somebody on the table that we get their physiology to change so they can tap into the bound energy, which would be like the piece of wood, and we can use the abundant fuel from outside to get the whole body to lighten up, to light up and lighten up, then that's what we're looking to do on the table. And
Uh-huh.
so
And what is the name of that? Because I know it has a specific name, which is not chiropractor. So I know that's the way
well,
that I could explain it. But then you have maybe a better explanation of what the name could be.
yeah, so I mean, so it started out as chiropractic, and then what I started as I went through that search for um what the cause of the subluxation is, right?
Mm-hmm.
If the subluxation is the cause of all disease, what's the cause of the subluxation? Then I was turned on to many different techniques and many different things. And one of them, which became one probably the most influential, was what was at the time called network chiropractic, which then
Mm-hmm.
became network spinal analysis, which is currently now called network spinal. And the reason for those name changes is because it's gone through evolutionary iterations. It's gone through as a technique, it's growing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
which begs me to say, and then I'll answer your question, which begs me to say this: if you're practicing a technique or you're studying somebody and that their teachings and stuff don't evolve as you evolve, there's a challenge with that. And what that challenge is that you then need to continue to remain at a certain level in order to fit into that paradigm. Ideally, what you want is your teachers and your techniques and your things to evolve as you evolve, to evolve right along with you and be able to meet you and guide you right along the way so that it's a collaborative effort, not something that it's in order to come to my office, you need to be a patient. In order to come to my office, you need to be sick or wounded or at this energy level, as opposed to having a technique that'll actually grow and support you on your growth and that grows right along with you. And that's what I learned from that. Now, so that's network spinal. Now, as a practitioner of network spinal analysis and network spinal, I'm a very good practitioner of that. And there has now become just a point where I've stepped out of that and I kind of just play in my own playground. And I don't know that I really have a name for that.
Okay.
Currently, I call them SOAR sessions, SOAR, because they do help people show up, open up, act up, and rise up, which is what SOAR means to me. And but I don't really have a name for that. They're table sessions, energy sessions, you
Okay.
know,
That
things
that
like that.
explains it. Well, now you mentioned something that I think it would be so awesome, or I would love people to hear. Is a couple of stories that you've seen or that you've accompanied someone that came into your office this way, and then what you see them doing afterwards.
Sure. So I guess for me, part of it is one of the primary things that I look at is full self-expression, right? And when it comes to full self-expression, what that looks at to me is agency, autonomy, and sovereignty. And those are developmental phases that we go through. And agency to me is when we're able to start actually making choice.
Mhm.
So most people that I talk to would say, what do you value more than anything? And they say freedom. And yet they don't even really understand what they're asking for. They don't really understand what that means. Some do, but many don't. To me, when you dive into it with somebody, what freedom means is the freedom of choice. Okay.
Mhm.
The freedom to choose. Okay. Choice is so the power of choice. I've created programs called the power of choice. And the power of choice is now I have the power to choose. And to have the power to choose means to be able to have informed consent and to be able to recognize that in any situation, no matter what action I take, there is going to be an upside and a downside, and they're going to equal out. Okay. Yeah,
Mhm.
of course, Aaron, there's going to be pros and there's going to be cons. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about that there will be equal benefit to withdrawal no matter what action you take. No matter what you do,
Yeah.
it's going to be heroic to some and villainous to others. Period. The freedom to choose is the freedom to be able to recognize that no matter what I do, it's going to come with ups, it's going to come with downs, it's going to come with pain, it's going to come with pleasure. And with that in mind, this is the choice I make. I make the choice to play small and never step up, or I make the choice to play big and step up. Either way, they're going to come with upsides and downsides. Which one calls you? Which one opens you up? So when working with people, it's really cool to see people evolve into that state of autonomy, into that state of agency. One thing that I'm really focusing on working with people is where they move beyond a transactional world, right? If we talk about a people pleaser is a person that is living in a transactional world, whether they know it or not. If I please you in this way, if I do this for you, if I do that, then you'll give me love. You'll give me approval. You'll give me acceptance. Okay. That really focuses in the fourth energy center, the fourth chakra, which is the home of love and unconditional support. But when it's at a lower immature level, it's actually as a pleaser. The overachiever typically is actually trying to prove their worth. If I achieve more, then I prove that I'm worthy. Then I prove that I'm valuable. Then I prove that. So if I prove myself to you by achievement, then you'll give me love. Then you'll give me acceptance. Then you'll give me safety. So those are transactional. So to watch somebody move through that, where they're no longer in relationship with their wife or in relationship with themselves or in relationship with their job and doing things to please people or doing things to prove their value, but they're doing it because they love to do it, because it's aligned with who they are. It's aligned with their own agency, their own autonomy, their own sovereignty. It's aligned with their own calling. That's what's fun to sit and watch. And I have, if you want specific stories of that, I can give you some specific stories of that.
I
But
think
that's
I actually wanted to share because you're saying that, and I just remember the very first session that I had with you. I think it was like 5 years ago. The thing that really, like, I can say that happens after is like I was not afraid anymore of doing more. Saying no to clients that I knew they were not aligned with what I was doing, like charging more money for what I did, knowing that it was worth it, that I was worth it. So you just shared that story. I was like, yeah, it's true. And how I would say it in my words is that you're able to, like, the person who does this kind of work is able to take actions from that place of certainty and in self-acceptance without knowing that it might not be, oh, I loved this result that I got, but it was just like, yeah, I don't like it, and I still feel good with me, rather than regret or being sad. Oh my God, what I did. So
right.
it's just different because, yeah, at the end of the day, it's not that from that day on the life is gonna be everything that we want. It's just how we relate to ourselves with whatever is happening outside and just taking actions differently.
Absolutely. And ideally, what we look at, this is what's coming to mind as you say that, is when we go to the very first energy center, when I call them energy centers, some people call them chakras, but I'm relating to them very differently with the program I'm building. When we go to the first energy center, the primary drive of the first energy center is belonging. Okay. The first energy center is the essence of it is I want to belong. Because belonging equals safety, it equals survival, it equals those things at the very baseline. The part of us that doesn't, if we don't belong, then we get isolated and ostracized. And that is very dangerous for anybody. Okay. So
Yes.
this whole concept of, so we're born in certain regards to care what other people think. Okay. We're a tribal species. Okay. There's another way more eloquent to say that. But as a tribal or as a communal species, we are biologically wired to care what other people think. Okay. At the very beginning. So what's interesting is that we have all these teachings that say you shouldn't care what other people think. You shouldn't care what other people think. Well, that goes against my biological wiring. Now, here's the dance. I absolutely care what other people think. But the dance of it is that is as a baseline, if that's my priority, then I'm still living as if my primary concern is to please everybody else so that I can get safety. My primary value system then at that point is survival and safety because I don't believe that I can survive and be safe. But as we start to evolve and as we start to mature and as we start to grow up, it's not that I don't care what people think anymore. It's just that that's not my top priority. My top priority now, instead of caring what you think about me, is how can I be of service to you? The dance is that if I care what you think about me, then the best that I can probably do is I'll try to manipulate you into liking me. And I'm
Yes.
not actually considering really anything about you other than you are a vehicle to fulfill my need for safety. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
You're not even a person in front of me. But if I can start to get into a place of how can I be of service to you, there's a really good chance that if I'm of service to you, that you're probably going to like me.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
what happens as we get that energy rising is those priorities shift. And
Mm-hmm.
as those priorities shift and we step into more agency, we get to choose what's most important. We get the freedom to choose, am I choosing safety right now or am I choosing adventure? And we actually become the CEO, the choreographer, the conductor, the head coach, whatever metaphor you want to use. We become that because we're functioning from our frontal lobe, we're functioning from our prefrontal cortex, and we actually now get to function from and in service of a bigger vision, a calling, this other thing, and we get to align our lives around that and our actions around that, and we get to integrate our lives around that. And that comes from having more energy available so that we can function from a higher place in our physiology and biology and in
Uh-huh.
our developmental consciousness.
Yes. Wow. This I could stay here forever. And I just want to ask you, Dr. Aaron, if people want to learn more about what you do, get more of like the different, because I know you do have events in different places. They want to get in contact with you. How can they do it?
Easiest way to be would be to go to my name, Aaron Wilkers, Aaron, wait, yeah, aaronwilkerson.com. Thank you. Or you can email me at
Okay.
aaron@aaronwilkerson.com. But if you go to aaronwilkerson.com, there is a request for consultation there, which you can do, or
Mhm.
you can actually sign up to be part of any announcements that come out. And within the next 6 weeks, there's going to be some cool announcements coming out with some new programs and some new self-paced learning programs that are coming out that really help individuals be able to get to know their parts and become really the leaders of their own lives so that we're not down there. It's, yeah, there's some exciting stuff coming up. So if
So
you
I
sign
will
up for
highly
those, you'll get the
recommend.
announcements.
Yes, I will sign up myself. Definitely. I want to know what you're doing. And I recommend anyone who is watching us or is listening to us to go look for Dr. Aaron and yeah, open your eyes to a new world. I could say that. So thank you so much for being here with us. And I hope we can have another conversation sometime in the future.
I love this and I would love that because there's so much more that I would love to share. I'm like, oh, we're done already? No. Thank you, Kareem.
Yeah, so that calls for a second. Bye.
Beautiful.